Hello, my name is Father Luke Thielen. I'm the pastor at St. Joseph's in Oakley and St. Paul's in Angeles. It's great to be here with you for Fridays with Father. Today, I will be giving my vocation story. This is a story that I have recounted, I don't know how many hundreds of times, and it's one of the most popular questions that as a seminarian that I got asked. Hasn't come up as much as a priest anymore because, well, I'm a priest, and so they already accept that I have the call. So to begin my story, I grew up in a little town called Quinter, Kansas. It's about a town of 800 or 900 people. My family was very devout. Went to church every Sunday, holy days of obligation, very involved. Through high school, I did all sports, all seasons, and even in the summer. And so I was very involved in my church and in the community as well. However, one of the things is that I didn't necessarily take my faith all that seriously, in particular just how to be Catholic. Now my mom will argue that she has taught me all that, and I have no doubt that she did. I probably just wasn't listening. So I'm sorry, Mother, for not listening to you earlier in my life. Going into college, I went to Tabor College, which is a Mennonite Brethren college in Hillsboro. And there I was pretty terrified to go there at the start. Maybe not terrified, nervous, anxious, because I knew I was only one of probably 4 Catholics on the campus of a campus of 500. And so I was very anxious about that. I hadn't been by myself as a Catholic in the kind of the Protestant realm before. I had my 2 best friends in high school were Protestant, but I'd always had my mom to go back to at the end of the day and ask her questions and that sort of thing. And so going to Tabor, I was very anxious about that. But while there, I never was persecuted for my faith. Yes, I was questioned, which was great. I took a catechism of the Catholic Church, and I used the heck out of that thing all the time, and to help answer their questions. So in my spring semester of my sophomore year, my girlfriend at the time and her friends wanted to go to Mount Sunflower between Sharon Springs and Goodland, and I had no reason to go. I had no desire to go to Mount Sunflower. Mount Sunflower, for those of you who don't know, is the highest point in Kansas, but this highest point in Kansas isn't like a mountain like you would have in the Rockies. It's the highest hill in a pasture of any hill in any pasture in the state of Kansas. Not that exciting, I'm sorry, it's just not. I grew up around pastures, I grew up around hills of that nature, and so I had no desire whatsoever to go to Mount Sunflower, and I was looking for any way, shape, or form to get out of this stupid trip. And so it just so happens I was going to Mass at Pilsen, home of Father Emil Capon, whose cause for sainthood is open at this time. And the priest there brought me to the attention of this retreat at Conception Seminary College. And I was kind of on the fence about it for a little bit until he mentioned the weekend. And the weekend coincided exactly with this trip. And without even thinking twice about what this retreat could possibly be, I said yes. And so I went with the Diocese of Wichita up to Encounter with God's Call weekend at Conception Seminary College, since Tabor was in the Wichita Diocese. And going there, it was great. I didn't really have any desire toward priesthood at the time. In fact, one of the seminarians, the first seminarian that gave their talk, their vocation story, got up and said, "Gentlemen, you are all here because you are discerning a call to priesthood." And in my mind, I was like, "No, I'm here because I absolutely did not want to go to Mount Sunflower. That is why I'm here, not because I want to be a priest or thinking about it, because I had no desire to go to a hill." But through that, if you have ever been to Conception, it's out in the middle of nowhere, and you're not going anywhere anytime soon. And so I was kind of forced to give myself to it, and coming out of it, I had thought I learned a little bit briefly about the permanent diaconate, which I thought was great, and I thought it was the best of both worlds, and kind of made a compromise with God that, hey, I'll get married, have kids, and at the age of 35, I will enter the permanent diaconate where I can marry, bury, baptize, and preach. So, which I thought was great. But if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And so he was laughing quite hard. That summer I taught Totus Tuus for my first of 5 summers. Yes, 5 summers of Totus Tuus. And I was with now Father Brian Lager. He was my team leader on that summer. We happened to be going to Hoxie the second week. It happens that in Hoxie is where I had my call to the seminary, and eventually the source of my call to the priesthood. In that church, there was a stained glass window on the west side of the church that said, I will bless you. And before I had looked at this, I had gone into the church that morning. I was completely torn, 50-50 of whether to go enter into seminary, completely leave everything that I was doing, or to go back to Tabor, finish my biochem degree, and do what I was planning on doing. So I was torn 50-50, and I just knelt down before the altar, before the crucifix, and I just said, Jesus, whatever you want me to do, I will do it. Just give me the grace to do it well. And like I said, there was a stained glass window on that west side of the church that said, I will bless you, and it had Jesus pointing down toward the earth. But me, being the sarcastic 20-year-old that I was, said to Jesus then, well, that's great that you're going to bless me, but that doesn't answer my question. What am I supposed to do? I'm still torn 50-50. I'm glad you're going to bless me, but what's your answer? And so I then happened to look onto the east side, and there were murals of the sacraments. And the first one that I looked at was the mural for the priesthood, and it said, tend to the flocks of God. And in my mind, that kind of sealed the deal for me, because Totus Tuus is what I call it. We tend to the mini flock, the kids. And as a pastor and as a priest, we definitely tend to our sheep, the laity. We are in charge of forming you to the best of our ability to get you to heaven. That is our ultimate goal, is the salvation of your soul, and to shepherd that along here on this earth. And so when I saw that, I made my decision. So I went out and I told now Father Brian that I wanted an application to the seminary. Well, I didn't realize how in-depth, I guess, long application to the seminary was, and so seminarians do not carry these applications, much to my chagrin. And so he told me that I had to call Father Jarrett, and I wasn't really ready to call Father Jarrett quite yet. And so I went back to our host family house, and I did one of the hardest things I had to do that evening, and that was break up with my girlfriend. I had to break her heart, which pretty much every guy that I know of pretty much promises not to break someone's heart. That's never our intention, entering into a committed relationship or a potential committed relationship with someone. We never want to break their heart, but in order to do what I needed to do, that is what I had to do, which was very difficult and very heart-wrenching for myself. It's still one of the hardest decisions and things I had to do in my life. And so when I was calling her and telling her all this, and Father Brian was in the other room, and unbeknownst to me, I guess he was super excited because he himself called Father Jarrett and told him that I was now ready to have an application to enter seminary. And so the next morning, I called Father Jarrett, and he's like, oh yeah, I know. Father Brian called me last night, so the application's in the mail on the way to Norton, which is where we're going the next week. As they say, the rest is history. I ended up going to Conception Seminary College for 3 years. I then went to St. John Vianney Seminary in Denver for 4, with a pastoral year in there, and served for 2 years as a priest in Salina at St. Mary's with Father Kevin, and 1 year as an associate under Father Don Fonensteel in Oakley, and now pastor. So it's been a whirlwind, but it's been great. I want to trade it for the world. And I hope in some way maybe this has inspired a call in some of you to consider the call to the priesthood, or maybe open yourself up, if you're a woman, to a call to the religious life. You never know what God has planned for you. Never try to say, this is exactly what I'm going to do in your life. Allow yourself to be open. Allow yourself to have the Holy Spirit inspire in your heart the call that God truly has planned for you. For in that is where you will find the truest and deepest happiness of your life. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this Fridays with Father this week.